Hey YouTube, it's Justin here, aka Demonic Sweaters. Today I have a really cool product review. This is the Avatar PD708 sampler pad. This is the successor to the very popular Avatar PD705 percussion pad. And as you can see, it's a similar device. This has 9 individual pads on it where you can play drum sounds or load in your own samples. It's basically the same form factor. It has some new lights on it and some new features. It actually really does a lot more than the PD705, but this is kind of intended more as what it says here, a sampler pad, whereas the PD705 is intended more as a kind of a portable drum set in a way. Not that you couldn't use this as a portable drum set or you couldn't use the PD705 as a sampler pad, which I do currently in my band. It's actually hooked up to my drum set back there, but soon I'm going to be replacing it with this one. You'll see why, as we go through this video, why this one is better for this job as like basically a sampler, and the other one is better for, you know, being a portable drum set. Number one being is this particular sample pad has the ability to play full stereo samples, whereas the PD705 only plays mono samples. It also has way more storage. This one has 32 gigabytes, whereas the actual amount for the storage on the PD705 is a little bit fuzzy depending on where you look. I've never really been able to find a clear answer, but I think it's somewhere around 512 megabytes or maybe even a gigabyte of storage or something like that. I haven't run out, but I haven't loaded like a ton of samples on it. But 32 gigabytes is plenty. That'll give you a lot of storage to use for a sampler pad. Another thing that this one has that the PD705 doesn't have is a click that you can actually route to just the headphones, and then the output, like the left or right output, will not have that click being sent to them. This is a really useful feature if you want to play along to samples that have a click track going at the same time. You can route them to the headphones, which is really awesome. It also has built-in effects, which the original PD705 had a couple, but this one has way more. We're going to dive into those. This also has Bluetooth, so you can run Bluetooth in. You can even sample from Bluetooth on this thing, which I haven't tried yet, but I'm going to try it out in this video. And speaking of that, you can actually plug a microphone directly into this and sample directly into the unit. So you don't even have to use a computer to load samples onto this device. Although that method is far easier, and Avatar does have a piece of software that you can use that runs on Mac and Windows that you can load your samples onto this device using that particular piece of software. Another substantial upgrade that this particular pad has is the ability to plug in up to 8 different triggers as well as 2 foot switches all at the same time. That gives you a total of 10 external inputs that you can run into this, which is absolutely killer. The original only had 4 trigger inputs and 2 foot switch inputs, so that's definitely a big upgrade. You could essentially run an entire electronic drum set off of this particular pad if you wanted to. Now, I did run into a couple of snags when using this device. Not that there were any major hardware issues, but mostly the problem was the documentation. The manual did have some incorrect information or some missing information, but I've spoken with people at Avatar and they've helped me out how to get it configured correctly and how to overcome the issues that I was having. So I'm going to go over those with you here in this video, and hopefully, you know, if you picked one of these up, you're going to enjoy it, and let's just talk about it. Let's get into it. First off, I want to play a little bit and show you some of the internal sounds that it has, and then I'm going to show you some loops that I loaded into it and me playing drums along with those loops, which is how I intend to use this device. Okay, so here's the back side of the sample pad. I didn't show this yet. And I just have it currently sitting in a snare stand right now. That's why it looks like that. But as you can see, I'm running the line output here. RCAs, let's unplug those so you can see. Okay, so we have left mono and right. There's the line in. It comes with this 1/4 inch adapter here. So you could plug in a standard 1/4 inch. There's the gain knob for the input, as well as USB right here. And I have my USB thumb drive attached right there. That's how I was able to load in my own samples. I haven't shown you that yet. You can also update the firmware through here as well. And I'll show you that here in a minute as well. You have USB-B, which you can connect to your computer to control MIDI, as well as MIDI analog, not analog, but 5-pin DIN MIDI connections right there. Then here's all of the trigger inputs and foot switch inputs or pedal inputs. And I was using my Avatar, I believe they're the PD708s or something like that, pedals with this device, but they don't come with it, but you can buy these on Amazon. They're about $40 each. And there actually is now a setting inside of the pad where you can actually set it for that particular pedal, which gives you velocity sensitivity on this pedal, which is very cool. The PD705 also gave you some velocity sensitivity with them, but not as much. Now, the reason why I was saying before that I believe the PD705 is still better for basically a portable drum set is I think the stock sounds on the PD705, which is over there, sound a little bit, they're more standard sounding, like they're kind of normal sounding, whereas the samples they loaded in to this particular pad are more on the electronic side and experimental side, and there's a lot of loops preloaded in there and stuff. Just kind of, it really seems like they're just trying to give you an example of how it could be used, and it seems like they're really encouraging you to load your own sounds onto it. Whereas the PD705 over there comes preloaded with a bunch of pretty good sounding standard drum set sounds. So if you're just looking for, something to play drums portably, you could use the PD705. But if you're looking for something, more like a Roland SPD-SX, then probably the PD708 is your go-to. Now, as you can see, it's got that cool light up logo there. The pads, you can actually configure different colors for the lights on those. They also light up when you hit them, different colors, although it's not doing it on this particular patch. I probably have to change something. So I guess what I should do now is actually show you the process of installing, well, first off, upgrading the firmware, because that's something that's pretty common with these Avatar pads. They do actively work on them all the time, and they're always releasing updates. So make sure you're updating your firmware. And then after that, I'll show you how to load some samples via USB. Okay, to update your firmware, you are going to need a USB drive, thumb drive like this or something like this. I believe this is a 32 gigabyte. You don't need anything that huge. But this is a cheap one from Micro Center. You do need to make sure that they're formatted as FAT32, which is basically the only format that the PD708 will read. But that's usually the default of these things. But if for some reason it isn't, just go into Windows and reformat it, or Mac or whatever you're using, in FAT32. So now let's switch over to the screen capture, and I'll show you how you have to build a folder structure inside of this USB device to use it in the Avatar PD708. Now this was the thing that was missing from the manual. In the manual, it didn't mention anything about that. It just said to put everything in the root directory, and if you do that on the USB drive, when you go to load the firmware or the samples or anything, it'll just sit there and spin its wheels forever until you unplug the device. So that will not work. You have to make sure you create a folder structure inside of the USB drive first, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All right, so I've got my USB drive plugged in here, and there's a couple of folders, as you can see, and some files here in the drive. But first off, let's go to the Avatar website, and what you want to do to update the firmware is download the firmware right here, PD708. This may be different if you're watching this in the future, but right now it's on version 1.26, and just download it here. And then once you download it, you're going to unzip that folder and go into your USB drive and make sure you create a folder called update like this. And then you're going to put the update.bin file, that's the firmware that you just downloaded, inside of that particular folder. And that is how the PD708 will know where the firmware file is by that folder called update. All right, once you finished creating the folder structure inside of your USB drive and copied the bin file in there for the update, just plug it into the USB in the back. Make sure it's in there all the way. Turn on the PD708. Let it start up. And then you're going to go to the System button right here. And then arrow down all the way to the bottom until you see Option. Then press OK, the OK button. And then we're going to press the Update. Well, actually, first go to Version right here. And then you can check your firmware version. Now, I'm not sure like what all the... It has multiple firmwares in here, I guess. I'm not sure how this works. But the files you downloaded should, in the README, should tell you the numbers of all of these. I guess I should have shown you that, but they will. So make sure that they're higher than what you already have on your device. If not, then you don't have to do anything. But then once you figure that out, go to Update. And then here you just select Update from this menu. Press OK. And then you will get this error. It says no UDisk. That's a bug, and they are aware of it. They're going to fix it, but just do it again. Once you get that, the second time it'll see it, and then just arrow over to Update Program and press OK for yes. I'm not going to do it because I already did it on mine, and I don't know what doing it twice might cause some kind of error or something, so I'm not going to do that. Let's just exit out of here, but you know, it'll go through the update and then restart, and then you should be good. And then we can go on to loading some samples. Okay, for this part of the video, we're going to talk about the SoundKit Editor. This allows you to basically compile kits and then install them onto the PD708. And actually, let me close this first so I can walk you through the whole process here. But let's open up Avatar's website. Here in the support section, if you go down here to the PD708 sampler pad section, you'll see Sound Editor Win64 or Win32 or Mac. I haven't tested the Mac version, so I don't know how well or not well it works. But so far I've used the Windows version and it does seem to work just fine. But you have to, you know, like I said before, it's very important to set up the USB stick correctly first. You have to make sure you did that. So if you haven't done that yet, make sure you do that. Okay, so then you download the SoundKit Editor. And when you download it, it's basically just going to be a zip file. There's no installation folder. So what I did, and what you can do, is you can unzip it and then copy the folder to your programs directory and then create a shortcut to your taskbar for the exe file. That's what I did right here. So that is SoundKit. Down here on the bottom, you can see next to that I have the Wave Manager, which is basically the same thing, but for the PD705. But we're going to open up the SoundKit. Right here where it gives you this select disk. In the future... currently, this does not function, but in the future, you will be able to connect a USB-A, like the full-size USB, to another USB-A, like the big USB plug on the back of the device, and plug it in directly into your computer, and then copy information directly to the PD708, I am told. But right now, this does not work, so just leave it as device unconnect default and click OK. And then what we could do here is we're going to start adding some samples, and I already have some here you can see that I created for another kit. And what I'm doing here is I'm basically creating some sample sets that I'm using with my band called Snex. And right now I have all of this on the PD705, but I want to switch it over to have it on the PD708. So to create a new sample set, I'm going to click here where it says New, and then I'm going to call this one Boring. Actually, no, let's call it E-Boring, because the song is called Everybody's Boring. You can call these whatever you want, obviously. And then I'm going to go into where I have the samples. So I have them here on my desktop in the New Loops folder. And what did I call that one on here? I believe it is Snex 2, I believe. So I can select all here, just hold down Shift and click the bottom, and then click Open. Okay, now I have a new group of samples here. So what I want to do first is name my new kit. And I'm going to call it Boring, or I'll call it E-Bore. Yeah, sure, that's fine. E-Bore. And then my kit number, I'm going to set it to 32 because I already used 31. The user slots start at 31, although you could write over any kit on the whole thing. And I guess my name went away there. Okay. Now, all I have to do is actually drag the samples over to the slots where I want them to trigger. So I'm just going to drag this onto slot A on the bottom left pad, and then slot B, or slot A rather, on center bottom pad, and then chorus, which is right here, and then I have my bridge, which I'm going to put up here. Nothing fancy. That's all the samples I need on this particular one. And then that should be good on that. So let's just, I'm still kind of testing some things here, so I want to see if that stays there. Yes, it does. Okay, so that's good. All right, so now I'm going to create another one. I'm going to go to 33. I'm going to call this one long D for long distance. Create a new sample set. Theoretically, you could have all the samples in one set, but, you know, I'm just trying to keep it more organized here. Where is that thing? This one I named much easier, just part A, part B, part C, part D. Much easier to figure out what's going on here. Okay, oh, and I forgot to show you, you can actually play these here. If we go, just click this little play button. It takes them a second to load. But you can preview your samples that way. And as you can see, there's a lot of slots here. You can drag samples onto all the different trigger inputs, all the different layers. A and B is referring to the different layers on each pad because you actually have the ability to layer samples, 2 different layers, and that's what that is. If we go in here to SoundKit interface, this gives you a lot of parameters that you can take a look at and control here as well. But I haven't really dove into this too much yet. All this stuff you can change basically on the actual device itself, so I'm not sure I'm going to mess with that. Let's go back to the main interface. I'm just going to stick to loading samples for right now. Okay, I have one more sample set I want to add, and that is the one for Evil Ed. So I'll just call this EvEd. Try not to make your your names too long because it can truncate those if they're over a certain amount of characters. And this one I do not need that 110 because that's the full loop, or the full song. I just want the cuts, basically. Okay, so let's create another kit here, number 34. And same thing, I'm just going to load in my samples. Okay, so next step here, what we're going to do is save all of our work. So we're going to click on the Save button here, and then you'll get a list of all the kits. And you can see that's that first kit that I renamed, but I don't need that one. I'm going to go here to 32, 33, and 34, and then click OK. Then I'm going to select where I want to save it, so I'm going to go to my USB drive. So here I'm going to put it in the Load Kit folder. So select Folder. Now, I haven't tried this with multiple kits yet, so we'll see if this works. The PD708, you could only do one at a time, so hopefully this allows me to load all the kits in the device at once. Now, I think one way I could test that file is to open this SoundKit Editor again, and let's go ahead and import that file that I just generated and see what happens. I actually don't know what will happen yet, so let's see. Oh, okay, so they're all there, individual. That's very cool. So it looks like this will work the way I was hoping it would. So, okay, so the next step is just to import these into the PD708, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All right, now let's talk about how you can, or one possible way you could set up your loops or your samples inside of the PD708. What I want to do is to be able to trigger loops and play along to them. And I want to be able to hit one pad and have that loop play indefinitely until I either hit it again or I hit a different pad. So the way to do this is actually not very difficult. What we're going to do is first just go in here to pad below the home button, and then you'll see when I hit a pad, it plays a sample. So when I hit a pad, it plays a sample. And what I want to do is tap this mode button right here. And I'm going to go, first I want to edit where it says mute group. So I'm going to put this in mute group number 1. I'm going to go down to loop. I'm going to set this to infinite. And then dynamic, I'm going to set to off. So it doesn't matter how hard I hit it. It's just always going to play full volume. And then mono or poly, I want to set to mono. That way you don't, if you accidentally hit it twice, you don't get 2 layers of the same loop playing. So now I'm going to do this on all the different pads. So I want to hit that one. Okay, and then and that's it. Now it's already set up the way I want it to be. So all I have to do now is press OK, and that saves everything. And then I go back to my home button right here. That takes me back to the main screen. And now say I want to change these light colors. So that's pretty easy to do. We just go here to Kit Set. And then right here where it says G LED color, we can change these LEDs to whatever we want. So I think I'll use yellow on this one. And WLED color is the color they become after you hit it. So let's change these to blue this time. And then like before, we just press OK. Now we go back to home. And that's pretty much it. All right, let's talk about built-in effects. The PD708 has a lot more effects than the PD705 had. And the way you access these, well, actually, let's talk about the types of effects there are first. There are basically a master effect that you can put on the PD708, which affects everything on it. And that's easy to turn on and off. You even have a button right here that can turn the master effects on and off, as well as a level for the effects. But before that will work, what you have to do is go in here to where it says System. And then you're going to scroll down. Actually, on the top, it is already on Master Effects. So just press, let me zoom in here so you can see that. So I'm just going to press the OK button that is to the right here off screen. And then you can select your master effect by turning the knob. Let me zoom back out. So I'm just turning this knob here, and then we can see all the different master effects that are available. There's a bunch of reverbs, plate reverbs, gates. There's a lot of stuff on here. Flangers, choruses, combination effects, all kinds of stuff. There's even a crossover as well as a soft knee compressor. So once you select which effect you want to use, let's just put it on reverb, or I don't know, put it on flanger. Actually, no, let me do one that you can hear more obviously. Tight plate, that one should be pretty noticeable. So I'm just going to press OK, and then go back to my main menu here. And then if I press the effects button here, should have some master effects. And then you can hear the level going up and down with the knob. Turn it off quickly. So yeah, Master Effects is super easy to use. The other effects that you have here are 3 different pad effects, which you can assign to different pads. This one's a little trickier to get to work. What you want to do first is press the pad set button, or kit set button rather, right here. And then once you are there, you're going to press this button. That's kind of just like a menu looking button. It doesn't have any letters on it. It's just 3 lines with a dash. And then you'll scroll down to where it says Kit Effect right there. And then just press OK. And then it's the same kind of thing. You could select which type of effect you want to assign to each effects slots. We have effects 1, 2, and 3. So I'm just going to select a couple here. Sort of random effects. Okay, and then press OK. And then I'm going to go back to my main menu. And then, now, so this took me a little while to figure out. You basically have to assign each pad output to tell it to go through the effects. This effects button over here to the left for the master effects does not have an effect on the built-in pad effects, if that makes sense. So this is only for the master effects. So what we need to do here to assign our effects, if you go on kit effects and turn them all on, you still won't hear anything. So now what we need to do to actually make it so you can hear these effects is go back to our kit set menu. So press the kit set button and then tap output right here. And then let me zoom in. You can see that we have this line that is basically going down to master and phones. And if we turn the knob to the right, you'll see that line change. So now effects, and you also see this symbol right here. This tells you which pad we are adjusting. So now we have that echo on that pad. This one does not. So let's assign effects 2 to that one. Okay. So maybe you get the idea now. We're going to assign effects 3 to this last one. Okay, there's our 3 different effects. Oh, I didn't show you which pad I was hitting, but you can see it on the menu there. The 3 different effects I assigned. And then we can use that in addition to our master effects, which, you know, that's obviously way too much effects right there, but just to give you an example as to how it works. But there's a lot. You could layer a bunch of effects in this thing if you wanted to. For me, you know, I don't really use that much effects, or at all currently. Maybe I will in the future, but I'm basically just running, you know, like I said, samples through here, and I'm pretty much keeping them the way they are. So, you know, if you want to, though, they're there. All right, I wanted to talk about another excellent feature that is on the PD708 that wasn't available on the PD705, and that is an assignable metronome output. And what that means is you can assign the click to come out of just the headphone output or just the main outputs or both. This is really great because maybe you have some loops that you want to play to and you would like to hear the click, but you don't want the audience to hear the click. You can do that on this. So the way to do that is to go here to where it says System. Just press the System button. And then you're going to press the down arrow until you see click, and then press OK. And then you're going to tap the output button, which is right here, F2. And then it's kind of like with the assigning effects. You see the line here. If we turn the knob, you can see one either goes to just phone, or if you turn it the other way, it goes to master and phone, or we can do, actually you can't do just master. So you can either do just the headphones or the master and the headphones together. You can't do just master, but I guess I don't know why you want to do that anyway. So that's really cool. I've tested it and it does work. You have to make sure you assign your correct tempo. It doesn't detect the tempo automatically. Like say you have samples loaded on, you know, one particular sound set that are like 120 BPM. It's not going to know that unless you set the tempo using the tempo button here for whatever, you know, sample that you're working with on that particular kit set. So you need to set your tempos manually, but once they're set up, then it will send that click output. And as long as you hit your sample on time with the click, it'll sound on time. So that's really awesome. Really great feature. All right, so the last thing I wanted to show you guys here in this tutorial / review is how to sample directly into the PD708 using Bluetooth. And that's a really cool feature on this, I think, because you can sample from places like YouTube and wherever, because you can connect your phone. And the way to do that is just to press the Bluetooth button right here, BT, and then go into your phone and connect. And it just comes up as sample pad in your list of Bluetooth devices. Okay, so at this stage we should be able to hear YouTube. So let's go ahead and press play on here. I got some old Art Bell. Okay, so I'm going to have that standing by, and what I'm going to do here is go to sample, press the sample button, and there's two ways you can sample here. You can either do a basic sample, which just is pretty much self-explanatory. Let's zoom in here. And all you have to do is just press play on whatever you're sampling, or you could do standby. But I'm just going to press play and then press start.
Other realms of existence that could be explained by science. So I think we could see sort of a merging one day of paranormal phenomena and science if we could understand how the two come together.
Well, I am not blind to the fact that, for example, when I saw what I saw, which I
Okay, and once you finish, you just press stop like I did there. And now we should have it here, so we could just do preview.
That could be explained by science. So I think, we could see sort of a merging one day of...
Now, if you want to trim the sample...
So I think, we could see sort of a...
And to stop the preview, you just press this all sound off button. But if you want to trim the sample, what you could do here is edit your start and end times. And the way to do this is to use the knob here. And if you turn the knob to the right, you'll see the numbers start to go up. And that trims the front of the sample. And then if you go down here, the end, you just turn it the other way and you can see that going down. Now, if you do it just like this, it's going to take you literally forever to trim this sample. So what you want to do here is go down and change your X times amount here. And what this does is it actually speeds up how fast you're trimming. So, and this actually, I find, doesn't really become useful until you get to like times 10,000. So, because this is talking about individual samples, like audio bits, and that takes forever to get to where you want it to be. So now let's test this again.
Could see sort of a merging one day of paranormal phenomena and science if we could could see sort of a merging one day of paranormal phenomena.
Okay, so I want to make it stop after paranormal phenomena. So let's go down here. Let's see.
Could see sort of a merging.
Okay, it needs to be more than that.
Could see sort of a merging one day of paranormal. Could see sort of a merging one day of paranormal. Could see sort of a merging one day of paranormal phenomena and.
Okay, pretty close.
Could see sort of a merging one day of paranormal phenomena and.
Almost.
Could see sort of a merging one day of paranormal phenomena.
Okay, so I think I need to lessen this just a bit to trim this up a little better.
Could see sort of a merging one day of paranormal phenomena.
There we go, perfect. And then just press save. Save complete. Now I can select that sample and assign it to a pad, and I can do that by pressing pad. Okay, then you'll see the wave list here is empty, so I just turn the knob, and that'll bring up all of my samples. Go all the way down to the bottom, and that should be where the latest sample you loaded is. So let me keep scrolling, keep scrolling. Now, I'm not sure if there's a quicker way to scroll. Maybe there's a shortcut key to jump down faster. I don't know. I wish there was, but there it is right on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and select OK there. Now,
should see sort of emerging one day of paranormal phenomena. Should see sort of emerging one day of paranormal
there it is.
Phenomena. Should see sort of emerging.
Now, I could further edit this like I showed you before and make it loop, or I could go down here to mode and I could put it on a mute group. I could make it mono if I want, which will give you something like that.
One day of paranormal phenomena. Should see sort of emerging one day of paranormal phenomena.
Okay, I just wanted to chime in here real quick because there is one more sampling function that you can do. It's called loop sample. And I created a little bit of a video of doing it, but I haven't been able to really do it successfully. So I just wanted to chime in here real quick and say that they are still working out some bugs for the loop sampling. But also, that's something that I'll probably never use personally, because if I'm creating loops, samples to use as loops, I'm going to be using my computer, to do this 100% of the time. And I think it's just way easier to create a loop on a computer than it is on a sample pad. And then I would import it onto the pad, either just using the regular USB import or the SoundKit that they give you, the SoundKit app rather. Maybe further down the road, I'll do a tutorial on how to do the loop sampling directly into the PD708. But for now, I think that's pretty good. Being able to do the basic samples over Bluetooth and just all the other features that I showed just make this thing really, really rocking. So I just want to chime in here real quick and mention it. Another thing maybe I didn't talk about or show was, plugging, analog devices directly into the pad and sampling that way. But there's still other features too, like using the external triggers and things like that. I'll save those for videos further down the road because this video is already, over the 30-minute mark. So yeah, I think that's enough for now on this one. All right, that is the Avatar PD708, and I know I do look completely different at the end of this video than I did in the beginning, and that's because it's taken me quite a while to make this video. I had to go back and forth, to figure some things out with the people at Avatar. There is some wonkiness in the manual and things like that, but overall, I do think this is an excellent device, and in fact, I like it so much I'm using it with my band right now, and it's working really, really well. I was using the PD705, like I said, and that worked good too, but the PD705, like I mentioned before, only plays back mono samples and has a lot less memory and storage than this one does. If you're looking for a very cost-effective alternative to the Roland SPD-SX, I highly recommend the PD708 by Avatar. I really love the stuff this company makes. They sent me several items and all of them have been useful for me, and they're just really, really cool stuff. And I think it's great that they're making products this cool that are this affordable. I haven't actually used one of the Alesis sample pads, but from what I hear from people, well, actually I shouldn't say that. Maybe Alesis will send me one of those too, and I'll check it out, and maybe I'll like it just as much. But for now, I'm really glad that I have this thing, and it's basically the third member of our band, Snex. If you want to check us out, we've actually been releasing some stuff here on YouTube. I'll post a link down below for the latest video that is coming out actually tomorrow, but maybe by the time you see this video, it'll be posted. And I'm using this sample pad in that video. And I think it worked really well, and highly recommend it. Once again, Avatar, thanks for sending it over. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe, click the bell icon, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great day.